They say an empty mind is a devil's workshop. And so we try our best to keep our minds filled with things to do, places to go. So we try our best to make sure that our mind is never empty, but always full of mind works that continuously keeps on hopping from one workshop to another. Never for once leaving it empty, for we've grown up believing that an empty mind is a devil's workshop. And hence always filling it up with same old and some new. Which is where, as we continue to walk even further on our path of self-transformation, we finally begin to question that how is it that an empty mind invites only the devil to come in and make it its workshop? How come angels don't come in this empty mind? Why is it that despite keeping our minds full and filled, we long to empty our minds for that is how we get some peace of mind? Which is where we begin to understand that it is not as much about an empty mind or a filled up mind. It is also not as much about whose workshop it is, the devil or the angel, but rather who is watching, observing and witnessing this mind workshop in the first place. And why is it watching the devil enter this empty mind instead of letting the angels in? Which is where we begin to understand and realize that it is our sense of self that we believe ourselves to be, that we've lived by and as, that we've experienced up until now. That determines who and what gets to enter this empty mind, if at all we leave it empty even for a bit. And anything that does not fit into this sense of self automatically feels devil-like. So say for example, my sense of self is inclined more towards safety, security and stability in the workforce arena, and rightly so. So we opt to do only that which gives us that very safety, security and stability. But suddenly, when that is compromised and gone, for its time is up, that mind space is empty now. There is void in this particular time frame. That feels as emptiness and void in our sense of self. And if we don't fill it up with something else that feels even more safe, secure and stable, we fear that it will soon become that much dreaded devil's workshop that we've grown up believing and that we've fought so hard to prevent from happening. For void and emptiness feels dark. It is darkness, we call it devil. And this is where and why. This is where and why we only allow all those fearful thoughts to enter, instead of love and compassion and trust in all those angelic feelings and thoughts. It is because our sense of self is attached to that belief, that which runs the show, the workshop, this workshop. Not realizing that we need darkness to bring forth new light. We need darkness to see things in a different light. And it is up to us to determine the level of brightness if we are to even turn on the knob of our light, our inner light. And this is where we finally realize that it is this very empty space and void in our mind, in our sense of self, that became our creative workshop. Devil or angel, who is to say, for we need both these horses' forces if we have to even run our chariot forward. This is where we finally see for ourselves that if it weren't for that emptiness and void in our mind, in our sense of self that felt so dark, we wouldn't have even thought of filling it up this time around with an inspiring light. We wouldn't have even created this path of self-transformation and shared all our learnings in the form of content creation. This entire At Walk With Me Ronak is but an epitome of what that very emptiness, void and darkness can create. And so no, definitely no, an empty mind need not turn into a devil's workshop. It is up to us what we turn it into. And if we are fortunate to have found our purpose, we will find ourselves emptying our mind of all things unrelated to it. For we need this empty mind to now start functioning in a different light towards our purpose. And so no, an empty mind is not a devil's workshop. An empty mind is a prerequisite for all things creative, all things original, all things inspiring, all things extraordinary, all things clear, new, solid, stable, and so much more. Walk with me as we each no longer fear emptiness, void, darkness in our mind space. For we know that we can turn it into our creative workshop. This is what I